I'm not going there.
Right in front of you.
I live
Kevin.
I still see it. Yeah. Now you have to move it a little bit to the 2 inch. All right. I'm plugging in. We're on the line. Everybody, Councilman, you guys heard that.
We'll start the meeting. If anyone has a cell phone, if you could please shut it off. The only two cell phones that should be on would be the police chief and the fire chief. Everyone else, if you could shut yours off. If we could rise, the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if we could remain standing as we have done for the last couple of years, and remember our men and women in the armed forces, those that are with us today and those that we lost since our last meeting. And also, I'd like to always remember those from our community that have passed on, and I have Paul Fortino and Rita Coffey. Thank you. First on the agenda is public comment on any of the agenda items. Yes.
I have a comment. Do I need to stand?
Yes.
Gus Katratis. It was item number 13. The board was required to go into executive session, and I was wondering if the board went into executive session and what was discussed, well, and whether or not it went through, and if it didn't, why wasn't there an executive session?
Last meeting.
Yeah, we didn't go. It was there in case you were.
There was no executive session.
According to the agenda, in the last meeting, it's supposed to be item number 13.
There was no executive session.
So we decided during executive session not to have an executive
No.
session?
What? I'm not sure what you're not understanding. There was no executive session. We didn't go.
Because on the agenda it said you were going to go into executive session.
Yeah, but Gus, you were here and you left, we all left.
Well, we all
knows that.
We
He
all
knows.
leave afterwards. We all leave after you guys go to executive session.
No, but we didn't go into executive session, there was no announcement that we
Thank
were
you.
doing.
Any other questions on, yes ma'am?
Yes, my name is Linda Bouchard. I'm a resident of Highland Falls. And actually, I would like to take just a moment to read a new law that has changed. It was introduced, it is a referendum pertaining to the very specific idea of executive session. And it pertains to...
No, it's not on the agenda. This is a public comment on agenda items.
Oh, I see. Isn't there public comments down at the bottom?
Yeah,
That's when you do that.
Oh, okay, sorry, I'll bring that up
The
then.
only agenda items for public comment on agenda items are if it pertains to one of the items that are numbered
Okay,
on the
Public
agenda.
comment on agenda
okay,
items.
I'll do
Is there
that.
any other comments? Okay, next on the agenda is to approve minutes. We have, from the board meeting we had on January 22, 2013. I'll second Mr. McCormick's motion. Motion by trustee McCormick, second by trustee DeSalvo. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, we have Police Department report for January 2013. And December 2012. Okay. All right. Chief, a couple questions before I get to the appointments. Can you give us an update on the meters, those that aren't working correctly, and the ones we took down in front of the churches?
Yes, we took some of those meters and we placed them in high traffic areas where meters weren't working. So we were able to save time and money by not having to order new ones. Most of those, if not all of them, have been put back into service, and we have a few in reserve.
So we have some spare parts, etc.
Correct.
Okay. Can you give us an update
on an issue that you and I had brought to the board and to the, about a few months ago, probably, about stickers. And so the folks know what I mean by stickers is that it would allow for a price to come in and buy a yearly sticker, like a Long Pond pass, put it in a certain spot in your car window, and you wouldn't have to feed the meter for the whole year. It's something that we wanted to possibly bring to the public, and in particular, some local contractors who frequent Main Street in and out of the hardware stores all day.
All right, last I recall, we had priced out the stickers, and we could have, for $500, it was under $500. It was last left up to the board to discuss whether or not we wanted to move forward with that.
Did we ever have a price, or how did we?
$497 for the stickers, and then I guess when you guys were talking about it, we were trying to determine what were we going to charge per sticker for the year.
All right, let's you and I sit down and work up a proposal and give it to the board.
Okay.
All right. The last question I have is about the letter that's been comprised to go out to those folks who have unpaid parking tickets.
And it was just a simple verbiage change on the letter that was currently sent out. So I believe the court, I got to get confirmation that they have all the verbiage, and that should be done now. So the letters can go out, and we should be able to see some revenues come in from that.
Good. Okay, on the agenda, number 3A, the appointment of a part-time dispatcher is being recommended to the chief, to the board, Joseph Maraschino, at $13.55. If we approve this tonight, he'll be on a 52-week probation period. We also have the appointment recommendation for a part-time police officer, Christopher Friedman, at step 5 of the part-time police officer contract, $23.55. One's a dispatcher, one's a police officer, and so if we could take care of those two, and then I'll do C.
I'll make a motion we approve the part-time, you want to do them together or something?
However you would like to do it.
I make a motion we
Separate.
accept the part-time dispatcher at $13.55 an hour for a 52-week probation.
Motion by trustee DeSalvo, is there a second? Seconded by trustee Brown, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Then we have the part-time police officer.
I make a motion we accept the part-time police officer for a rate of pay of
$23.55.
$23.55 and probation for 52 weeks?
Yes. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by trustee McCormick, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, we have the resignation of a part-time police officer, Philip Boyd. Effective February 4, 2013, I am resigning my position as part-time police officer in the Highland Falls Police Department. I will turn in my property on the 5th of February 2013. Thank you, Philip Boyd. Motion by...
Hold it, we doing an exit interview here?
Thank you.
Yeah, it's something came up with his full-time job, so he's not allowed to work over a certain amount of hours a year. So,
Motion by trustee Brown, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by trustee DeSalvo, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Just one question, Kenny, if you could, with those, if you could just add that, just the explanation, just so we have it, so we know there's no need to pursue. You know what I'm saying, like the simple sentence you said, if you could just add that onto these, that would make it a lot easier.
I can do a separate memo to you guys.
I appreciate that, Ken.
Fire department report, chief, you have anything you'd like to add? No requests, I don't see any requests, right?
Can I make a comment there, please, just 1 minute? I happen to be speaking with some of my customers over at KJ in reference to the fire department doing a mutual aid call there 3 weeks ago today, I guess. Yes.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And I spoke with the chief, the assistant chief, and PS fireman there, and they couldn't praise the Highland Falls Fire Department enough. But on the same token, the Howland Falls Fire Department couldn't praise the KJ volunteer firefighters enough either. Everybody acted as a professional. When the fire department was on the second call, the 20 Mountain Road call, which was, well, you might have seen in under two. Yeah, there was another one after that, right? But anyway, the volunteers at KJ were much appreciative of their action. You guys' action. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. Building department report you have from the town.
Yep. From John Hager, there were 11 permit applications, 0 operating permits, 5 certificates of compliance, 84 physical inspections, 12 complaints were opened, 10 advisory violation notices, 71 periodic inspections were opened, 2 municipal searches were completed, 0 zoning variance, 0 planning board applications. And the other item we'll take care of later down in the agenda.
Number 6, a resolution for the general election appointment of inspectors. Whereas the next village election for offices will be held on Tuesday, March 19th, 2013. And whereas voting for the upcoming general village election shall be conducted at Sacred Heart School Gym, 7 Cousins Avenue, from noon to 9 p.m. Therefore, be it resolved that the inspectors of the election shall be as follows: Suzanne Lewis, chairperson; Robert Webb, Kathleen McCormick, Inga Acquaintance, and alternates will be Joanne Savidio and Gregory Stewart. Be it further resolved that the rate of compensation paid to the inspectors shall be $12 per hour. By order of the Board of Trustees, Regina M. Taylor, Village Clerk. Motion?
So moved.
Motion by trustee DeSalvo. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by trustee Brown. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
May I have roll call?
Roll call, trustee McCormick,
Abstain.
trustee DeSalvo.
Aye.
Trustee Brown,
Aye.
trustee Flynn,
Aye.
Mayor Bernard.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Number 7, water tank valve installation project. We have to install a valve up at the water tanks, and we had bid openings here on Thursday, the 24th of January, 10 a.m. I was present, the village engineer was present, the village clerk was present, and the chief water plant operator, who's here tonight, was present. And then we had 3 of the companies that put a bid in. There were 7 bids, sealed bids, and the low bidder, and the one that's being recommended by, after review of his paperwork from the village engineer, is FC&C Construction of Highland Falls. The low bid was $33,200. The high bid was $82,675. I would recommend that we go with the low bid.
So moved.
And I also would like to, one second, I also would like to note that this is a local vendor. Again, a local vendor, as they do many times, which I'm happy about. They get the job, and they do very well at it. Motion by trustee McCormick to approve for $33,200 FC&C Construction for the water tank valve installation. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by trustee Brown. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Request for refund of water penalty, a late penalty on their water bill. You have that before you, requesting a refund of $48.98, which is the late charge from his sewer bill. He's saying he never received the original bill in the mail. He received the penalty one, though. And I have never been late with any of my bills to the village. Now, so what is your pleasure?
Well, I can take it on his word that he did not receive a bill. And I think anybody in the audience, if they didn't receive a bill, they wouldn't want to pay a late charge either. So therefore, I would recommend that we refund the late charge.
I just want you to, before, and I appreciate that, just look at the second page.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gina, did this individual get a water bill
Yes,
and they paid it?
yes.
So there wasn't a problem with the water bill?
I have a motion to refund $48.98, the late charge that was put onto the sewer bill on account 51104120020.
I'll second it.
Seconded by trustee Brown. Roll call.
Roll call, trustee McCormick?
Aye.
Trustee DeSalvo?
Nay.
Trustee Brown?
Aye.
Trustee Flynn?
Nay.
Mayor DiNapoli?
Well, listen, I'm going to give you my vote, and it's going to be based on the code, just so everyone knows that it's the law, and it's very plain and simple, and I don't want to open up a can of worms for everyone to come in and say, hey, I didn't get my bill, or whatever, so my vote is nay. You know, last time we had someone that was in Afghanistan, and so, you know, I bought that one. You know, I understand, you know, I'd do anything for anybody in Afghanistan. Another time, and the ladies downstairs, they hear it all. And some of it's not too pleasant. And, you know, it's tough, so those are tough decisions. Okay.
Can I just say something real quick?
Who said
To address
that?
it? That's the order.
You gotta wait till public comment, hon.
That's okay.
I'm
I'll do
sorry.
this.
Okay. Burns Avenue drainage. There was a couple of meetings up on Burns Avenue in the last week. There's an issue with some water running off into the road, some icing, different things going on up there. You all have the paperwork before you. And so this would be the time to voice your opinion.
Just, I'd ask this to be an item of discussion because it was, I believe it was important. It was a good move on both John Hager and Pat Patterson. This was a situation that was escalating toward lawsuit, and it was fuel was being fired. Fire was being fueled. And Pat Patterson and John Hager contacted the engineer rather than take it upon themselves to make a decision. They let our professional be hired, do the job. Thought it was fantastic because there was a lot of contention that piece of property was causing the problem. Within 5 minutes of our engineer going up on the property, he was able to assess that this property has nothing to do with the problem, but did recognize a much bigger problem right next door. And now is on the job to assess that problem and deal with it, which hopefully will help with the drainage on Mearns, as well as water coming off of 9W. And it was a quick meeting, and I appreciate all those involved. And again, to John Hager and Pat Patterson, great job of avoiding a much bigger problem in the future.
Well, Pat, do you think the DEC and the DOT should be involved in this particular problem?
Actually, there was a there was a case that was just completed that was won by the person, which would be in favor of the village, of the person with the property. Water coming off a hill. It was the state that put the pipe in. And because of the fact that they didn't take care of where the water's going, a case that basically went on for about 11 years was just settled. And it's very similar to what we're seeing with this incident. So we're in very good shape to have the state come in, but that's going to be when you're dealing with the state, as everyone knows, many-year process. But the good thing is that our engineer is on top of it. He knows that who to contact. They mentioned it's two or three different lawsuits, as well as the state and the DEC. So I feel very confident in how they're moving forward.
So it started out as a problem, but now it's not a problem? Is that what you're saying?
Problem exists. The problem is not on the piece of property in question. The problem is on the piece of property next to that property. What can be done about it? What's happening is water's coming off of 9W down to Mearns, and part of Mearns is icing up. So what's gonna happen is, after talking to Pat Patterson, for this winter, they're gonna keep an eye on it and make sure that's really all they can do. They're gonna make sure the drainage area is clear, keep an eye on the ice to make sure it doesn't flow out into the road for this winter. Then over the summer, they will take a second look at it and see what they can do. The problem is, for those that know, I'm sure Mr. Weissman knows, that whole area was a big valley, and it was filled in with rock and dirt from Stony Lonesome when they did the blasting there. So it's not a piece of property that's been there for 100 years.
All right, so then the recommendation from the engineer, we don't have to do. I mean, you know, the recommendation, it's a whole lot more than what you're saying, Pat, but that's okay. What I want to say tonight is the recommendation from the engineer, we don't really have to do now. He's recommending that the village crew go on private property and totally clean out this brook, which goes from 9W all the way down to Burns Avenue. It'll take them a month of Sundays to clean it out. Private property. Now, I'm sure everyone in here would like us to come on their property and do something, okay? And now, with what you're saying, is that the problem is not the brook, Creek Brook. We don't have to do this.
Correct.
That's what I'm seeing. So now there's no problem.
What our engineer had suggested was, if we did want to clear out that area, it would in fact totally negate any problem coming from that stream. He pointed out the problem is not with that stream, but he would, if we wanted to go in and clear it out, that would avoid possible future problems.
I don't want to put Mr. McCarthy on the spot, but Ms. McCarthy, your property's in that area, and you're really the receiving end. I mean, are you satisfied, not satisfied? I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but you're standing there.
Nobody's putting me on the spot. I've been at these meetings for years. I've been coming to these meetings for 15 years to get something rectified. What's going on with that stream? What's going on with the water? I got 200 gallons a minute coming at me. And now I got rubbish, trees, and everything in the brook. And I've been here, I would say 6 times in the last year. And it's still not rectified.
Well,
I don't care what the engineer said. I live up there. I seen the ice come down the hill, and I know what happened.
You're talking about where you are.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah,
This problem they're talking about is where I am.
No, he brought you up. I don't know. I'm not quite sure why. Yours has a different issue. Let me tell everyone what's going on here. There's private property, and through the private property, down the side of the bank is a brook. Mr. McCarthy, right?
Yes.
Okay. In the wintertime, because the brook has so many trees that have fallen, that have come across it. Got a picture this now. That when the water hits these branches and trees, it freezes. Like a day like today.
That's not what the engineer said.
It most certainly is what he said. It's exactly what he said. Now, it freezes, and then what happens is that some of the water, when it starts to thaw, hits these walls of ice. It pushes the water outside of the creek. Am I right, Mr. McCarthy?
Yes, once it freezes up,
Yeah.
there's nowhere for the water to go but to go right and left. And it's
Of the
going
creek.
right and left
Right.
and
Correct.
freezing the road and causing
Right.
a hazard on Mearns Avenue, which is pretty severe.
The problem is that the day that all the folks were up there, I was up there on one day, and some more folks were up there the following day. It was last week when it was warm. There was no ice forming. There was no snow on the ground. But the engineer saw, along with Pat Patterson, our highway guy, that when it gets cold and when it freezes, it acts like a wall. And when the water hits the wall of frozen branches, it pushes the water outside of the brook and down onto the road and onto that gentleman's property. So,
Joe, I'd like to stop now because that's not what's in this report, and you're putting it out to the public.
yes,
If
I have the report right here.
If the engineer if the engineer wants to put that in writing so that the whole board has it, that'd be great. But I was at the meeting with the engineer. He specifically said it is not the creek on that property. The gully that is formed, keeping the water in, is not coming outside that area. What is happening, and why it's causing a problem, is what I described before. It is not it's not been there for more than 50 years. And it's a lot of rock, and it's a lot of rubble. The water is coming through the dirt, not the creek. That is exactly what the engineer said. I was there at the meeting. He also stated that there's more water coming off the adjacent property, and that's the problem, not from the creek. He stated that verbatim. Is Pat here? Pat, are you here?
No.
Okay. He's not here. So it was myself, Pat, the engineer, and Mr. McCarthy had shown up towards the end, and the homeowner was there. I was there. That's exactly what was said. If you have an old report, that's fine.
I don't have an old report. I have a report that's dated the same one that you're referring to. And
How come you don't have that then?
Because it's addressed to me. I was there the day before with the engineer. Mr. McCarthy was there, and our highway street superintendent was there. Again, it was a warm day. Yes, they found water coming from the property next to where the brook is. That's a different owner. Right, Mr. McCarthy? That was what was icing up down further. We all saw that. And the engineer said it was coming from over there. So that's going to have to be addressed with that property owner. But the brook, and listen, we're really probably discussing something that maybe doesn't need to be discussed, because if it's not the brook, as you're saying, then I'm assuming we don't have to go in and clean it. I just don't know why we would go on private property and do all this work. So I guess we really don't have to, because according to what you're saying is the water's coming from the adjacent property.
Right, the creek, according to the engineer, the creek is not the issue. Mr. McCarthy has a serious issue though, and it is coming through his property, and it is icing up on Burns. This is something we still have to address. The engineer is trying to get anything out of the way that might be the problem. Him being the professional, I agree with exactly what he's saying.
So you're saying that the property that Mr. McCarthy is having and the road icing up is coming from the adjacent property?
The engineer is saying that.
Yeah, that's what you're saying. Okay.
The engineer is saying that.
So I guess we can move on.
Mr. McCarthy, I'm not going to let this lie. I'm going to keep up with the engineer, and we will. I asked Pat Patterson, is there something we can do at the bottom of it, because the engineer was quite clear that it's coming through the earth, not off the creek. That was his assessment. There's something that we need to do at the bottom. It needs to be done. So it does need to be looked at. It's not a dead issue, and I will continue with the engineer, just so you know.
Okay, now, there's an issue of cleaning the brook out. Is that going to be taken care of, Pat?
On the engineer's and the building inspector's recommendation, it is not the village's responsibility.
Okay, but when all those branches and everything, which I've been doing for 30 years, is crawling underneath that street and dragging out stuff that's been coming down from that brook. Now, I'm 56 years old. I can't get in that brook anymore.
Listen, Mr. McCarthy, your problem is not the adjacent property. The problem from the adjacent property, that's causing the road to ice up. You have your problem, most likely, and we'll meet up there again I'll schedule a meeting with the engineer and Pat Patterson, is coming from the brook. You just said that. I saw it the day I was up there, but forget about what I saw. You're living it.
Yeah.
You're living it.
But you just described a whole different problem, though. You're saying that the branches are going down into the brook. You're not talking about icing up top. You're talking about the branches getting caught up down below and blocking up the brook, and that's causing a problem with the water going through your property.
Yes.
That's totally different from.
But you're saying it ices up.
It ices up and it comes out of the bank.
Thank you. Thank you.
It does.
Well,
You got to be up there when it's.
Of course it does.
Can I
mean, that's common sense.
DOT also be
Yes.
involved in this?
Yes. So there'll be a meeting with the engineer and DOT. And-
last time I was up there.
And highway.
Last time I was up there, Pat's supposed to get in touch with DOT.
Yeah.
To see what involvement that they would have.
Should we get in?
Okay. Mr. McCarthy, I'll be in touch with you real soon,
Okay.
real soon. You've lived it long enough. Okay. Next on the agenda is to renew with Direct Energy as a supplier for electric. Per the recommendation from our purchasing clerk, you have the memo before you. If we go with her recommendation, I am happy to say that over a 3-year period, the village will save over $20,000 in electric fees. So I think that that's something we should do. Motion by trustee McCormick, is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Seconded by trustee DeSalvo. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Over $20,000. Reschedule the second meeting in February, which is on Monday, the 18th, to Tuesday, the 19th, because Monday, February 18th is President's Day, which is we would meet on that night, so let's move it. The office is closed that day, so let's move it to Tuesday. Is that okay?
So moved.
Motion by trustee Brown, seconded by trustee McCormick. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, we have bills and claims for the fiscal year 2012-2013 of $174,549.18.
Motion to pay the bills and claims.
Motion by trustee Brown, is there a second?
I'll second Mr. Brown's motion.
Seconded by trustee DeSalvo, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Public comment. Raise your hand. Yes,
Do I have to get down here? somewhere?
absolutely.
Okay. Ray Devereaux, Highland Falls, part of the plan. The subject is the proposal for a new waterfront overlay district that was proposed in December, sometime, maybe late November. And it was supposed to be a public hearing, I think on the 7th of January, and that was canceled. Would you please speak to that?
It was canceled because in polling the board was not in favor of the overlay district.
When was the board polled?
I had asked for the board to be polled. I know, I personally saw Joe. I'm assuming you were called.
No, I wasn't called.
Okay, well, do you want to have it?
I would have liked to know why we were doing it and follow through with the procedure.
Why we were doing what?
Would have liked to get the phone call to be polled before you
I
stop the
believe-
procedure without asking.
no, excuse me. I didn't stop the procedure, the board did. And I believe you were called. And you can sit there and say you weren't called,
Gina?
I believe you were.
She did not call me. Who called me, Joe? If Gina didn't call me.
I'm
who
not,
would call me?
I don't know.
Okay.
Now,
first
I
time-
do know also that I don't think the board was in favor of the, was it 300-foot, Joe?
It went from 500 to 300, yes.
500 to 300 going all the way south, I think behind Ondura Park.
Would you give us a background on it, please?
On what?
What precipitated the move? and-
There was some discussion from a possible buyer to put a restaurant down there. And then that was given to the planning board. Planning board had a couple meetings on it, had the village attorney here, and then they came up with this overlay, which I had never heard of before, to be honest with you. And that's what they recommended back. You know, I don't know. I only know that I was not in favor of touching everyone's property from the Highland Falls Marina all the way down to Ondura Park.
Who proposed the overlay?
I think the planning board.
Excuse
No,
me.
excuse me, I think either the Jimmy, help me out here,
Yeah.
you know. Jimmy's chairman of the planning board.
Jim Ranis, Planning Board Chair. The overlay district was brought to our attention because we were looking to do something with some of the properties along the river. We're trying to bring some more revenue back here, and it's a great asset, the river. So what can we do down there? First thing was maybe we could just change the zone area. That could be considered spot zoning. That could be an issue. We did think about it, only going towards Mickles and keeping a new zone, a business zone, where West Point now owns Lady Cliff College, and the railroad property and the one property right next to it. West Point really doesn't need any zone because they do what they want. There would have only been 2 properties that would have been affected, one which has very high commercial value. We have had other properties, other people come in before us to the planning board. They wanted to put beautiful townhouses down there. Being that the zone that it's in, they could not do that. They had to jump through so many hoops. They were willing to spend millions of dollars. They backed away from this project. That could have been a lot of revenue that we could have had here. So the next thing was, what else can we do? We went with the overlay district. The overlay district was considered. We spent probably 30 to 40 hours, me and the attorney, on coming up with something that would be compatible here. And I fought her back because she wanted to do 500 feet. 500 feet is way too much, so we brought it back down to 300 feet. Now 300 feet would only involve possibly 32 parcels. And if you actually look at the rules and regulations that would have been in this district, they have to have access from one of the main roads, and they have to create this access. They have to make a public road. So there's a lot of things that would be involved. And 17 of those properties are owned by the railroad. So now what are we looking at? 15 properties. And a lot of those people would like to keep it the way they want it. Now, just because we make an overlay district doesn't mean that you are in the overlay district. You have to come petition the board, show the board that you have good potential and you have the money to spend to actually put something in there. And then, once it goes to the board and they okay that, then it has to come before the planning board. And we will then, per our rules and regulations in the code, allow you to do it as long as you go by what's in the book. I hope that answered your question.
Well, you raised the point about someone was going to come in and build whatever.
I can dig that out, Mr. Devereaux.
Millions of dollars.
If you've seen it, you would be impressed.
Was that placed in the newspaper? Was it public knowledge? Was the board involved with that?
No, because they came and they would have had to go to the zoning board of appeals. And once they came to the planning board with their project, it was a sketch plan, and they showed us what they wanted. We told them how many variances that they would have to go through to get, and they walked away from the project.
Okay, excuse me, I'd like to interject something here.
I'd just like to make one quick comment.
Thank you, Mr. Devereaux, I really appreciate it.
I just want to make one quick comment in regards to the overlay. We all got an email about the overlay district on December 27th, 2012. And I'm not saying, Regina, that you did send us an email, so it was a month ago. But we all got it. Harold Brown, myself, the mayor, Mr. McCormick, and I believe Mr. Flynn.
I do remember, you know, look, I can't sit up here and remember everything. An email was.
Excuse me, I haven't had an opportunity yet to speak.
Excuse me, an email was sent now that he brought that to our attention, and I do remember the answers, so thank you. Go ahead.
May I have an opportunity? Thank you. First of all, my name is Linda Bashore, and I have spent 50 hours on this project. And I'm going to tell you that Mr. D'Onofrio told me himself by phone that he was the one that proposed the project. And I also want to tell you, I am very, very upset about this because we have no public access in this village, never have, to the river. And I am very passionate about seeing to it that that happens for all of us. Secondly, the property he's referring to is on the National Register of Historic Places. It is a train depot. It's a Victorian train station. There are very few of these left in the state of New York. Furthermore, I spoke to Mr. Skeeter Starr, who's been a longtime resident of this village, and he told me personally, in the presence of Mr. Pat Flynn and also to me previously, that he had already seen in December, 2 weeks before the project overlay was introduced by Mr. D'Onofrio, that it was going to be turned into a gentleman's club / strip house. And he had already seen he had already seen the architectural plans himself. And I don't think Skeeter would lie about that. I've done further research on this property. As a matter of fact, this property has been sold to a Mr. Irving Maroff, who's with A&I Builders. He purchased that property. That's the second buyer from the Rondells. Secondly, before that, 5 or 6 years ago, Mr. Bobby Mellon and Miss Donnery did a huge amount of work to see to it that a grant was issued in the amount of $1,080,000 to this village for the purpose of developing that piece of property. And I'm sorry, Mr. D'Onofrio, but you were partly responsible for why that failed. So that's all I have to say about that. Right now, I am not a grant writer, but I have taken it upon myself in this village to see to it that we get the grant money that we need for Nature Conservancy, for parks development, and also for preserving our national landmarks for future generations in this village. And right now, there is $70 million available for projects like this. And that's all I have to say about that. And we will not be lied to. We will not be lied to. You told me on the telephone, and that's all I have to say about that. And by the way, I'd like to present my second comment. This pertains to the Committee on Open Government with New York State. A referendum was passed in February last year, and this is what it says about open meetings, ladies and gentlemen. It says, the open meeting law requires that a motion for entry into executive session must indicate the subject or subjects to be discussed based on a recent decision of the appellate division, and this was in February of this past year, as well as earlier decisions. A motion cannot merely parrot the language or a statutory ground for conducting an executive session. It is clear that describing an issue as a personnel matter or as a legal matter or contracts is inadequate and fails to comply with law. In short, this court determines that a motion to conduct an executive session should include information sufficient to enable the public to believe that there is a valid basis for closing the doors. Furthermore, the Supreme Court of this state has set out 3 factual scenarios where the school board and other entities tried to enter into an executive session but failed to use a sufficiently descriptive language. A copy of the lower court decisions is available, and I have many copies to distribute to you. Furthermore, the language must be sufficiently descriptive and, the language must be sufficiently descriptive, and also, by the way, the public is not allowed, except for only 2 very small reasons, to go in executive session and prevent us from what is known that goes on behind doors. Furthermore, I'm very, very nervous. It's required that following executive session, that we are to know the results of any voting or any discussions that occurred in executive session. And right now, this administration is in violation of 2 laws, and I have filed a complaint with the Department of State. Thank you for listening.
Next. And please, don't shut your TVs off or anything, because I'm going to answer all this in a minute. Believe me. Anything else from anyone? Yes, ma'am.
Joan Cronin, Highland Falls. I want to thank you.
Just a little loud, okay, Joan?
Oh, I want to thank you for working on the senior citizen building.
Thank you.
And I went in Friday, a few of us, to see it, and it's really something. Nice, it's big, and I've been in contact with Roberts and Lehman, our Congress. Well, can't think of it right now.
Mr. Scofus?
Scofus and Roxanne Young Lady, and to give us helping hand. I have been out talking to people in the town, all the workers, that people have business. I have an engineer that's going to go in and look at it. Everything's free. I tell them, senior citizens, we have no money. So everybody join in, and they're volunteering their time. A plumber, I have an electrician, a carpenter, interior decorator, and anybody else that can give us help in hand. And if you make money, whatever you want to donate, make it the check out to the Highlanders. And I would be very happy to get any help. Let me, when we get in there, I know there's paint jobs have to be done, and they have paint good, anybody, and donate. I've gotten a donation for a new refrigerator, it's practically brand new, a microwave, a toaster oven. Any help anybody can give us, we'll be glad to have. We certainly deserve it. It's a long time coming. Every place I go, they have a senior citizen place, and we sure deserve to have it. Thank you. Thank you.
No. Excuse me. Mr. Weissman?
Paul Weissman. Just about the senior citizen. My wife's vice president, she works closely with Joe. I know what this man's done. I really appreciate it. I was a little concerned all along when I heard that 2 members of this board didn't think that you should take on more debt. But look who you taking the debt on. Come on.
Did I vote for it? Yes, I did.
You said you...
I voted for, I said I was concerned,
Yes.
and we have to stay on top of it. I also would have loved to see, as soon as we started for the grant, the board, the village, look into the needs of the building, so that we knew ahead of time, so that you don't have to. I don't think the seniors should have to scramble for money. I don't think you should have to go out and get donations. I think you should have everything. You are more than well deserved. But there's, not only do the seniors not have any money, the village doesn't have any money.
Well,
but I voted for it because it is deserved, it is needed, and I will work with you.
I'll save you some money. Appreciate that. Okay, article in the paper just said that I believe they singled you out, that you're concerned about taking on more debt.
Well, they were concerned about taking on more debt. Mr. McCormick was, and I understand that. Mr. Flynn was, again, it's the same reason that Mr. McCormick gave. Mr. Flynn wants to turn the building over to the town. We're not prepared to do that at this point. To be honest with you, the village doesn't even own the building yet. You know, in the next couple of months, that will happen. The senior citizens do not, should not have to pay, and will not pay for any renovations of this building. The village will, in one way or the other, whether it's through grants. I know, where's Joan?
Here,
Joan, I know that you've talked to local contractors, be it plumbers, be it electricians, you know, and if there's a way, a legal way that we can have them come in there, even though it's a village building, and do that for the seniors, it will be done.
I will be sitting with the congressman this week and our assemblyman. Yeah.
Well, our Assemblyman Scofus, I had a second meeting with him, and by this Friday I will be applying for a grant, a small grant from him for tables and chairs. Because we need tables and chairs. I can tell you that there's a local bank, which I won't name today, which has donated desks, chairs, a beautiful conference table, you know, that we'll put in there. So it's all going to come together as it should. It's all, you know what? It's our turn, meaning senior citizens. It's our turn, our little turn now, just our little turn, okay? And along with taking care of everyone else, from the kids all the way up to us, senior citizens. Yes, ma'am.
If I want to tell you that the county brings Meals on Wheels down there, they give us $5,000 to use a place, like they do the Episcopal Church.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. I know that program's out there.
Get them, you know, have the meals stuff delivered.
There probably should be a centralized place, you know, where we all go for a meeting, where we all go to do recreation, where we all go to socialize, where we all go to eat.
You gotta get, if we can get the county.
Yeah, that's a town thing, and so we'll be talking to them.
I believe, you know, my name has been thrown out, and it can be thrown out all the time, it doesn't matter to me. But I'm gonna tell you one thing. It's a town responsibility, it's not a village responsibility. Village taxpayers shouldn't have to bear the burden, and that's what I'm concerned with. I can talk to you, can tell you that we have X number of millions of dollars worth of work that has to be done in infrastructure in the village. Where does it come from? Oh, no, it's there. It's water, it's sewer, it's all over the place. Streets, you can look at your streets and say, oh, they're falling apart. We need a little work here. Where do I get the money? Do I come back? How much can I tax? How much further can I tax you before you say I give up? You know, it's got to be real about this thing. It's dollars and cents, and a lot of people out here can't afford it today. And I'll be talking in a few minutes about some stuff we have to do. We just spent $30-some-odd thousand on a valve for a tank, And the tank, we don't know what the total is gonna be, the cost of it when we get into it. We got $175,000 left of one bond issue. We know we get inside, the little tank cost us $335,000 to refinish. The big tank is twice the size. We don't know the condition of the floor. We might have to put a new floor in. I'm saying it's all supposition. Maybe we don't.
Joe, you're right, and I told you you were right the first time you brought it up. And what I see happening here is down the road, the village applied for the grant, the village was awarded the grant. I will say that I did work hard on getting that grant, and we did get it. And I can see down the road, just like recreation is town-wide. Town-wide. I can see this building being town-wide. I can see that happening.
I think if it's planned for their budget, which
Right.
is 14, they'll be doing that in November.
Yeah.
We have to go there.
I agree.
Excuse me, I would like to just say one thing. The town gives, does their share as far as the seniors go. I agree that our club, and I've been in it for 25 years, is open to anybody in the town. The town has for years paid for the buses for our trips. So the town does give us plenty, they support us as much as they can.
I understand.
So, I
And
just want everybody to be aware of that.
they can go the extra mile to take care of this other facility because it's town-wide.
Yes,
And
but
that's-
it's owned by the village.
Well, listen, Bear Mountain owns Brooks's Park, but the town maintains it. West Point owns Lone Pond, we maintain it. It's doable. It's doable.
It's a process, it's a
I
process.
want you to be aware of
No, I'm-
the town, does it
I've been,
share.
the dial-a-bus came when I was there, okay? We'll go back there if we want.
And just so we all know that when you say the town, we're all in the town, which means village and Fort Montgomery all pay the taxes for the town's input, which is why we would like to see the town take it over. And we are not looking to say seniors shouldn't get anything. We're looking for seniors to get everything. But our job is to plan properly, to make sure the money is there, and to make sure that 3 months down the road, we don't have to close the building because there is no money. That's our job. That's why we're concerned. The building was voted on and passed. We want to see it happen. But we have serious concerns because there is serious money issues. Not with the senior center, with the village itself. So when we talk about looking down the road, we might give it to the town, I would rather say in 5 months, in 8 months, there's been no board discussion on the senior center as far as bringing it in, what's going to happen when it gets in, and what's happening a year down the road. That's what I want. I want to be able to tell everyone, don't worry, because we've talked, there is a plan in place, and it's taken care of. Right now, that's not the case.
Oh, wait a minute, I will tell everyone here and home watching. There is a plan. There is nothing wrong with the village taking over this building. The village had the, whatever you want to call it, to go get the grant. Okay, nobody came to me and nobody came to me and knocked on my door and said, here's $200,000. That's not how it happened. Okay? And the plan was, and we all voted yes. I'm not sure that we all voted yes.
Yeah, to get the grant.
To get the grant.
With
Okay, we all voted yes to get the grant.
With
With
comment.
reservation, but we all voted.
We all voted to get the grant. Now that we got the grant, all these processes will take place. We don't even have the key to the building. That's going to be hopefully another couple months. Okay, so it's a process, and the board will be involved in the process, and I hope some senior citizens are going to be involved in the process. So everything's okay here. It's not the end of the world.
Joe, I have a question.
Yeah.
With regard, to this building and so forth, I know Joe McCormick,
Can you turn, because they can't hear you at home?
you spoke of it a couple meetings ago or something, and you were saying how we could afford it. Has the grant money been actually come down into the village? You don't have the
No,
grant
we don't
money
have,
yet? Is that-
Yeah, the grant money.
That's the part I don't understand.
Yeah, that's
the money
okay.
part.
This will help. The money from the county,
It's how much?
200,000.
Okay.
The money from the county that the village will get is coming from the federal government.
Oh,
The federal government gives community development money to, I guess, the different counties.
yeah.
And Orange County is gonna get their amount, and then we're not the only, project that was awarded.
Right.
And so there's several others, so then that's how it works.
So we know we have 200,000 coming, do you know, and so now and that's what we're gonna be paying for the building, 200,000, or more, or less?
No, that's
or-
exact,
That's exactly-
you will only get what
Oh, what-
you have to pay.
Okay. Now, has an engineer or anyone gone into the building to inspect it, to see what work it may need beyond?
I had the village engineer there,
Yeah.
showed him the building, but now, part of getting the money is an engineer's report. Part of getting the money is a lead abatement report.
Okay, so contingent on the engineer's report is whether we get that money or not?
No.
Or how does?
No, we're awarded the money.
We're okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know,
So who will be doing the monthly?
there's some other things out there that's inaccurate information that even comes from board members. Say that Knights of Columbus said, okay, we'll give it to you for 190.
Yeah.
We don't get to keep the other 10. We're only gonna get the
No,
190.
because you're not even paying for it yourself, actually. You're getting a grant, so.
The grant is for
Whatever the cost is,
Right.
yeah. So who will be doing the upkeep of this building? I think Joe McCormick?
The village.
I think,
I'm not.
no, I
Joe's gonna sell us toilet paper and
I
paper
know
towels.
this was brought up because of the village having so many bills. How will we keep the upkeep of it, the electric and monthly maintenance and whatever goes with.
Anne Marie, it's just like this building. The answer is, it's just like this
The
building.
village is going
The
to
village.
take on the expense amongst,
Well, what's wrong with the town taking some of it?
well, no, they don't want the town, you know, so now it's.
Lindsay
that's-
said
Yeah, whoa, wait a minute. Yeah, wait a minute. Wait a minute, I'll
But
answer
it's
what you
open
just said.
to everybody, am I right in that?
It's seniors only.
Seniors only.
Okay.
No way.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
And no one
That's what
knows,
it is.
I mean, you don't know, of course, you don't have the engineer, so you don't know
No, I
what
don't.
renovations have to go in there to make it senior friendly and, you know, all those sorts of things.
I'm having an engineer go in. He is volunteering his
Don't you
service.
do the engineer or you're?
He
Oh,
has,
she had somebody.
I have it, yes.
Okay, so we don't know the cost of that, so the
He's
village will
doing
be
it for
taking
nothing.
up that.
Hold on, let her finish.
No, I just
What is
wanted to
your
know, over the 200, I mean, who's
You
gonna?
don't live in the village, so you're not gonna affect your taxes.
No, but it affects me, I'm a senior
Excuse me,
citizen.
excuse me.
That's not right, that's not,
Chief,
Joe, I did
Chief,
plenty in
Chief,
here,
Chief.
and I wasn't a resident of this town, so
Chief.
don't
Saying
even
you're-
go that way.
He's not saying you didn't donate any
No,
time.
no, he just said that.
No, I said you don't pay village taxes. I'm
No,
telling you.
I know I don't, but it trickles down, you know, everything that happened, it trickles down into everybody's pocketbook eventually, you know?
We're talking about it going to the town, she's a town resident, she pays town
Yeah,
taxes.
and I've done
She's
something
Eventually,
in this
eventually
area,
it's gonna,
so-
eventually the building's probably gonna go to the town.
To the town.
Probably.
Because-
Most likely.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Because it should.
Go ahead, Gus.
Gus
Go ahead,
Contreras.
Gus.
So let me get this straight. The village applied for a grant.
Right.
The grant went to the county. The county is now waiting for the grant money to come from the federal government.
From HUD.
From HUD. If that doesn't
Correct.
come through, the county doesn't get it, the village doesn't get it, the seniors don't get it.
Right.
So the money isn't in the bank right now, it's being waited, you're waiting for the money.
I never said it was in the bank.
Yes,
Yeah.
I just
They-
want to
these
add
folks
to
know
that.
Wait,
I just want to add to that. Go ahead, Gus.
You said at a previous meeting that you were gonna go with Gina up to the county and pick up the check for the.
No, I didn't say that. Thank you, Gina. No, I did not say that, Gus. You, please, you have to get the right information once in a while.
Please
What
tell
we said was, and I can give you the date by opening this book, we had to go out, the clerk, the mayor, and our engineer had to go out to the county, community development in Middletown, to sit down with them, and they were gonna tell us the roadmap, all the things that we had to do, like get an engineer's report, like get a lead abatement report, a whole host of, get a survey done. That's what I said.
Okay.
So please, you got it, no, wait a minute, I'm not done yet. You have to get the right information,
Okay,
please.
allow me to digest the right information. So
Okay.
at this point right now in time, the village does not have the money for the senior center, is that correct?
Very loud. If everyone can take it down just a
Okay.
minute.
At this
Yes.
point in time,
No,
the
Gus can
village
speak
of
up.
Highland Falls does not have the money for the senior center. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Is the face shoot?
So how are they gonna run it?
Okay.
And so the senior citizens know, you know that what I've always told you.
Yes.
Okay? I've never told you anything different than what I've told you,
So,
right?
Mr. Mayor,
Right.
what you're basically saying is the village board is still working on getting the funds. It's something in progress.
We've got approved for the grant, we're waiting for the funds.
We're waiting for the fund. And if something happens at the federal level, the county level, but anyway, those are possibilities, correct?
In Washington, it certainly is a possibility.
They move
Now-
slow.
Now, speaking about Washington, at the last meeting, you said you were gonna go down and see Senator
Schumer and Gillibrand.
Schumer and all the
Yeah, yeah.
all our other stellar representatives at the national level. How did that meeting go?
It didn't go, it's gonna be, hopefully next week.
Next week, where?
Where what?
Where will the meeting be this time around?
There was no meeting, so there wasn't
The
this
next
time.
meeting-
I know
next
what you're
meeting.
trying to do, Gus, and it doesn't work,
What
okay?
am I trying to do?
You know what? I will let you know the exact date that I'm gonna go to Washington. Okay?
Because you said at the
Yeah,
last
it was
meeting.
it was supposed to happen. And West Point couldn't make it. They're coming with me.
Okay, okay. So you're working on having an ERM meeting in Washington.
A what meeting?
An ERM meeting.
A what meeting?
You're hoping to have a new meeting, you're hoping to have a meeting
Right.
in Washington to
Right.
discuss the transfer station problem that we have here in Highland Falls.
And a host of other things.
And a host of them.
Yes, which I'm gonna get to in a minute.
Last
question.
Last question. I've noticed a lot of your signs on properties that are sort of related.
Let's get rid of the politics here right
Oh, that's politics?
That's politics. Let's get rid
All
of
right.
that.
Next, do you have anything?
Yes, I just wanted to address one thing. Most of everything that's been said here is correct. However, I have a copy of the letter from the governor of the state of New York, just to clarify the copy of the letter that I have from Orange County government. And everything the mayor did say about the grant is true with one exception. The grant money is to be distributed through HUD, which typically in every year can be in the millions and then in the many hundreds of millions of dollars across the United States. The only difference in what he said is that at the very bottom of the letter, the Orange County government stipulates very clearly that our town is scheduled for the grant, and that is not a guarantee. So if anyone wants to see a copy of the letter, you can do two things. You can call me 845-826-2774 anytime. I will make sure that you get a copy, okay? We all want a senior citizen center here. You all deserve it. We love you. We need this in our town. We need to have more fellowship. We need to have more camaraderie. The second way that you can do it is very simply to use your government to be able to answer your questions. Gina's been very, very helpful to me. She's given me copies of different documents in the past, and that is part of your local government, and it goes all the way up to the top. So if for some reason, through lack of time, or that our officials here, they do their best, if for some reason that you cannot get the answers that you need, feel free. We have some wonderful, wonderful administrative assistants here, and they do more than that. You can just simply ask for the information, and they will give it to you. It's part of our governing law in this town, in our country. The only other thing I did want to say about the second referendum that did happen at the New York State Department level is that the new law stipulates that because there were so many complaints at the top levels of government, not just in our community, but in other communities, that people didn't understand even to know what to ask for if they wanted to see a document. Then what our towns and villages, agencies, and our cities need to do now is they actually need to keep a list of all of the motions, the proposals, the laws, the codes, and all the documents that go about governing the village. So, and then next to it have a number that describes what that actually means. So that will help us to better understand what's happening here and elsewhere. So I just wanted to stipulate that.
All right, thank you.
Okay,
Any other
thank you.
public comments? Yes, Barb.
How you doing, everybody? Leslie, I won't take up a lot of time saying this, but
You know, I heard about the senior center coming into the community. I'm a homeowner and a taxpayer and everything else, and I thought it was very exciting to hear that. I'm not young anymore. I'm old, I'm getting older, and we all know the saying we used to always hear, you know, we're going to do this for the future of our children. And that's what I heard when I was a child, and I heard it throughout all my years. And now, when I was a child, you all were my age, okay? And you worked hard and you did everything that you could do. So I'm in your position now, and you're at the next step, level up. Now the question I have is, I'm hearing a lot of people say, how are we going to do this? How is this going to happen? And I think this is exciting, and what we ought to say is, this is how we're going to do this, and this is how it's going to happen. This is a great opportunity for this community to have a senior center there. We talk about the building. I would be positive in saying that there's going to be a lot of volunteers out there to help with this building. You talk about maintenance on the building, okay? You're going to have insurance on the building. Electric, heat, if something should happen or break down, there are a lot of people out there that look at the senior citizens in this community. We love you, and we want to help you out. And I really think this is an exciting thing that this village board is bringing. I know they're talking about the village is going to take the lead on this right now. I would think that the town perhaps may get involved in this. I think that they would like to. And let's remember that the town on the A fund is everybody too, okay? But this is exciting, and I understand the concerns that are out there. I do, from the board members and the public here, there's concerns. This is exciting, and for myself, okay, when I was a child and you were my age, okay, I'm looking at this now, hey, there's going to be a senior center coming up in this community. I'm not too far from, hey, I hate to say this, but I'm a member of somebody right now. And it's just exciting, and I think we ought to keep the excitement there. And let's not just, you know, frown on, oh God, how are we going to do this? But we can work this out.
We're all very excited.
I'm glad I didn't get a call in the middle of that.
Ray Devereaux, quick comment. I was at the same meeting that Mr. Kutsarati was, and my recollection of what the mayor said was that he and Gina were going over next week to pick up a check.
No, okay, well, I'm sorry that you didn't hear it right. I don't know what to say. But that wasn't what was said. And in fact, it's probably in the minutes, you know, of what we did say. And if we wouldn't have said that because it wasn't what we were going to do. The county is not getting the money till March. They hope. They hope. It depends on how the boys and girls in Washington act. If they act like adults, then the money will come to the county, and then from the county to the village. You know, that's what it's going to be. That's the way it is. I can't change that. I can't do anything about that. But when we went out, the three of us, including the town engineer, the village engineer, we went out for them to tell us what things we had to do to get ready for the check coming in March. So that's the way that went down. I do not have the luxury as mayor of being incorrect. When I say something, it has to be correct. You know, someday when I'm in the audience, I guess I can stand up and say things that aren't correct. I guess that's the way it works. So I say that for these reasons. Number one, I always said that the money was coming from the county was getting it from Washington. I always said that. You folks know that.
Right.
I don't say one thing to you guys and say something different to another person. I've never done that. And I'm not going to start today. Okay? A lot of this, what's going on, is because it's the time of year. And you all know that. Okay? Number two. Number two. Is there any...
Let there be peace on earth.
Is there any other public...
Begin with those laws.
Jimmy, is there any other public comment? Jim?
Yeah, I got one other thing. You at the last meeting?
No.
At the last meeting, there was some discussion about the water bills, and I have a suggestion. I believe we should keep it twice a year, the water and the sewer. Because once it goes to 4 times a year, quarterly. It goes up ever so little bit of an increase every time. We don't see it, but it will go up, just like the cable goes up. So what I would suggest is, being that we already have the system downstairs, and I know some people have a difficult time paying their bills, I think they should be able to put money into escrow, an account. So they could come down there once a month, give $50, and this is just a suggestion. I know it would take a lot of paperwork and account. But if they could get $50 each month, then if they had enough money on that halfway mark, they might have enough in their account to pay the bill. If not, then they could just pay whatever is left.
Jim?
It's just my suggestion.
On that, you should talk to Joe, because he's on the committee that's going to recommend something back.
We'll be following up in a few minutes when you're done.
Okay. And another thing, about the planning board. Great to see a lot of people here. I don't see anybody come to the planning board meetings. Nobody knows what really goes on, and then all of a sudden they see something being built. Well, the planning board meetings are the 4th Thursday of every month. Everybody's welcome to come. It's an open meeting at the end. You can give your input, and we're more than happy to hear from the public. There's probably only 3 people up there that have come to our planning board meetings that are sitting at that table right now. If more of the members up there came to our meetings, they might know what's going on in the village. And Mr. McCormick was one of them. He was on the planning board. Mr. DeSalvo comes not regularly, but often, and the mayor stops by also. So they give me input, and I take that into account when we make decisions at the planning board level. As far as a sketch plan for a gentleman's club, it's a sketch plan. I didn't even see it, so I think this is hearsay, and if it was out there, it would have to come before the planning board, and it's not a permitted use. So it's something that would never happen in the first place, just to put everybody's mind at ease. That's all I have.
Okay, I'm going to go on to board comment. Jim, are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to just briefly say a few things about comments that were made tonight. Again, I want everyone to understand it's like the time of year, you know. And I don't like to use the word lie. Some of you have heard me say that. I don't like that word. Okay? So I'll use it in a different way. It is so not true. It is so not true what was said earlier about the Highland Falls Marina and a gentleman's club. It will never, ever happen as long as I'm in this seat. Okay? I am a Christian. Make no mistake about it. Could I be a better one? Yeah, I'll admit right on TV I could be a better one. But a gentleman's club? No. N-O. All right? N-O. Do I want to see the Highland Falls Marina developed? You bet I do. I've been wanting to see that developed for decades. It's a treasure down there. I don't want to see the building taken down. I want to see the building restored. Would I like to see a restaurant down there? I think I would, but I've heard from restaurants on Main Street, they're against it. So it's kind of like, you know, we want to be more, and yet some of us, we're held back. So I just don't know. I just don't know. Am I for that piece of property? A lot of people here tonight, on TV. Am I for that zone being changed down there? You bet I am. Right now it's residential. It's residential. So someone coming in to want to buy the place to put a restaurant would have to jump through some hoops, probably get it, maybe get it, go to the zoning board of appeals, go to the planning board, and maybe get it. But why not change it to commercial, and it's more apt to sell? People who invest money, it's not like years ago. It used to take 2 years to put a shovel in the ground, and everybody was okay with that. The way money is today, people want to develop property, and they don't want, they want it all pre-approved, as long as they go through the proper channels. So yeah, I want to see the Highland Falls Marina change to commercial. I do. That piece. Maybe even the piece next door where Loretta Burns used to live. That piece of property is very long and very narrow. It's not really good for much, maybe parking for a restaurant. Wouldn't that be nice? So time will go by, it'll all happen. Something will happen down there. It's a gem down there. There's not too many communities that don't have river access. We're one of them. But I want to tell you about river access. Every person that I've talked to that has owned that piece of property since the Rundells sold it, I have always said to them, if you're going to come and you want to do something, and you're going to go to the planning board and the zoning board, whatever board you have to go to, I want one thing for the Village of Highland Falls, and I want it legally on paper. I want that boat launch to be public access to the people who live in Highland Falls and Fort Montgomery. And I don't know if you know where I mean with the boat launch, but there's a boat launch there. It's a piece of blacktop that takes you down into the river with your trailer, with your boat. So that will be something I will continue to do. Continue to want for this community. As far as executive session, it was said that we vote, or possibly we vote in executive session. I have been on this board a long time. Mr. McCormick, you have been on this board a long time. You, Mr. DeSalvo, you've been on it a few years. And my friend here, Mr. Brown, has been on it a long time, and Mr. Flynn's been on it maybe a year. Never once have we voted in executive session. You know why? It's against the law. You have to come out and vote. If you make a decision in executive session, you can make a verbal decision, then you have to come out and vote. I think it's happened, I don't know, a couple of times. And so everyone knows when we go into executive session and you all have to leave, if I think there's going to be a vote, I always tell everyone in the audience, listen, you have to go out there, but we may vote, so we'll come and get you. And some of the folks have gone downstairs and we've brought them back up. And then we voted and then we made a motion to adjourn. That's the law. It's easy to do. It's not hard to do. And that's what this board does. So if anyone suggests that we're taking votes in executive session, not true. Not true. Not true.
I would like to just...
Wait a minute, Mr. Brown. I'm sorry. $1,080,000 was said before in grants that we received. We never received $1,080,000. We did receive a couple of grants, awards, that we couldn't use because it's the law that when the village buys a piece of property, they can only, I believe it's 10%? It's a certain percent over the asking price. We can't pay more than that. I guess that protects the taxpayer. So when the Rundells were selling the property, they wanted at one point they wanted $1.4 million. Then they came down to $1.2 million. We had one maybe, this goes back many years. We had one for sure, maybe two. We had one. That's what we received.
That's what was,
yeah. We had an appraisal done, one for sure, and this guy does river property, so it was a good guy to get. Maybe a second one, and we couldn't get the Rundells to come down to where we could purchase the property. They wouldn't budge. They just wouldn't budge. So we couldn't buy the property. No one wanted that property more than me. Have a riverfront piece of property. So we didn't get it. So those are the facts. Sometimes.
That dollar amount that the county was $600,000.
Yeah, not $1,080,000. You got to, you know, I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say other than it's that time of year. I'm going to move on. I'm grateful to the bank that's going to donate some furniture for the Senior Citizen Center. I'm grateful to our assemblyman who told me to apply for a grant for tables and chairs. I would like a motion that we put, allow the clerk to put into the News of the Highlands and any other newspaper publication that she sees fit the bid to go out for the wastewater treatment plant sludge digester mixing equipment. We need to go out, but we need to have permission to do that. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by trustee Brown, seconded by trustee McCormick. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. John, Mr. Jones, my wastewater treatment plant operator. You know, John, I asked you for this write-up. I'm going to pass because I got other things. But the next meeting, I hope to be able to read it. And it's an explanation of the thousands and thousands, I say thousands and thousands of dollars that the village is going to save by removing the sludge and the grit and the rags from the sewer plant. And I commend you, Mr. Jones, for saving the taxpayers all that money. You deserve a thank you for that. And I'll read this at the next meeting. Last year, we went to the READ system? Last year, we went to the READ system. The READ system is something that most of you probably see on your streets. When it's going to snow, you'll see the truck come over and put down this white crystal kind of thing. And it's something new we went to last year. And it has saved us, and I'll have this figure at the next meeting too, so much money by going to this system where the guys don't have to come in and get overtime, wear and tear on the trucks, the fuel for the trucks, on and on and on. There's a whole list of things that I'll take up at the next meeting as to why this was a good move by the board. And I want to thank Pat Patterson for bringing that to our... See, the department heads are good. It isn't just us looking to save money. It's the department heads are always looking to save money. I push them, I pride them, they know that. We have department head meetings all the time. We talk about this stuff all the time. They hear what other departments are doing, which is good. You know? So these are all good news stories. All right, I'm going to read a press release. I'll try to make this as short as I can, but it's a press release that's gone out to publications today. One team, one community advances discussions with West Point. It's dated February the 5th, 2013, Highland Falls, New York. The mayor is part of an important one team, one community committee that meets monthly to discuss issues of importance to the village of Highland Falls, the town of Highlands, and West Point. Currently on the mayor's hot list are 4 initiatives to benefit Highland Falls, including a push for West Point to require winning bidders to utilize local labor in their development projects, including a shuttle service for West Point to Main Street to support local businesses. Third, securing water from West Point in the event of an emergency, and permission from West Point for the town and the village residents to use government land and trails for recreational use. The One Team, One Community Committee members include, and I'll tell you how this came about. This came about a couple of months ago because of the transfer station, when we got word from West Point a week before they were telling us to get out of the transfer station. As much as we talk, it was proven that we don't talk. So now this is a standing committee, and I know it says once a month, but to be honest with you, since it's been formed, we actually meet twice a month. The One Team, One Community Committee includes myself, the Town of Highlands Supervisor Bob Livesey, the United States Military Academy Chief of Staff Colonel Gus Stafford, and West Point Garrison Commander Colonel Dane Rideout. At the most recent meeting held in January, Mayor D'Onofrio made a strong case for West Point to require winning bidders to hire a percentage of workers from Highland Falls for any new project at the Academy. Local laborers keep our community working and the economy of Highland Falls strong. This is important to our citizens, our village, and our neighbor, West Point. The village will be establishing a database of Highland Falls tradespersons and suppliers, and is seeking people to contact the village hall to add their information to the database. If this initiative is approved by the Academy, successful bidders for the new West Point construction projects will be encouraged to use local labor and can submit an easy-to-use one-page form to the village to secure a list of tradespeople and suppliers. The viability of Highland Falls commercial sector is equally important to the economy of the village and the quality of life of its residents. I want to make it easy for the staff, for the students, and the rest of the West Point community to visit the businesses on Main Street. I've asked that a daily shuttle service be established from West Point to Highland Falls during lunchtime. Our businesses want the cadets as their customers. The shuttle is proposed to run from 11:30 to 1:30 p.m. from the south post of West Point down Main Street by Memorial Park and return to the Academy. The mayor has also requested that monthly meetings with West Point cadets be established to provide feedback to the business community. And that'll be a standing committee that I will meet with a group of cadets, the same group of cadets. Of course, they'll change from year to year. But it's important that we know what the cadets want. It's important to know what the cadets think of us. The good, the bad, and the ugly, or whatever, the beautiful. And then take that back to the businesses on Main Street. In 1994, a new dam was built for Highland Falls that captures millions of gallons of additional water. While the water supply is sufficient for the village, the mayor feels it is important to have a backup supply in the event of an extended drought or other emergency. The mayor has asked West Point leadership to pledge a supply of water in case of such emergency. The land holdings of West Point are amazing and have inspired artists and nature lovers for generations. The Academy owns vast parcels that are ideal for recreation, whether hunting, hiking, fishing, or camping. I have requested that the West Point open key parcels of its vast land holdings to recreational use by the town and village residents. If approved, a protocol will be established to permit residents access. West Point is situated on some of the most beautiful lands of the Hudson Valley. It is important that our residents be free to enjoy this land they so love. The One Team, One Community meets in February. The community is encouraged to contact me with any suggestions or comments. The mayor will post updates to the Village of Highland Falls website and on the village Facebook page following monthly meetings. So that's something new that's going to take hold, I can tell you that. I met with the village engineer and Dr. Jackson from the school and the board president, Ann Lawless, about us applying for a grant for sidewalks so kids can get themselves on the sidewalk, don't have to walk in the roads. Some additional information is being gathered by the school to give to the village engineer so he can complete the grant. I'll go through this fast. We received a check from Time Warner, who we probably most of us have complaints with, right? Their franchise fees in the amount of $71,491.69. And now that was negotiated several years ago by myself, and I can't remember what village trustee was with me. But that's another good deal for the village.
Yeah, they just raised their rates.
Yeah, they're tough, boy.
Maybe we get some of it back.
Okay, because we've been here for quite a while, I'm gonna take most of this up at the next meeting, and I'll go to Mr. McCoy, the senior member of this board, Mr.
Mr. Brown, don't.
Oh!
I'm two, I'm not one.
Yeah.
Let's go with the water department report. Hopefully all the reservoirs are full, we know they are at this time of the year. Daily average water consumption is 446,000 gallons a day. The plant is operating normally, maintenance is being kept up. And just so everybody knows, the new boiler is in and the building is warm now after a year. Settling tank number 2 was cleaned. There are some concerns in Ondiera Park. We had a broken 2-inch water line on Clinton Lane. And in Satterley Grove, we had to repair a 6-inch water main on Cedar Lane. It was brought up earlier, Jimmy brought up, Ramus, the Water Billing and Payment Plan Committee, which myself, Gina, and Ralph, our treasurer, Walters was on board with. We met on February 1st. We had the following on the table: partial payments paid within the 6-month billing period, quarterly payments, credit cards currently accepted, fee is charged, and understand you pay by credit card as a third-party charge. We cannot take credit cards in the village.
I think it's $3.
Well, I have no idea what it is, but online payment must be paid in full. If you pay online, you have to pay it in full. Electronic funds transfer, which ETF, your bank will send the village a check. You can just do it on the computer. You don't have to put a stamp on it or anything else. It's done. Well, we got down to the end, and the committee suggests to the board that it establish a partial payment option, along with maintaining credit card, online payments, and electronic fund transfers, and accepting in the mail as well as at the window and village hall. So that basically we go in the partial payment. You got a say you got a $600 bill, you could pay $100 a month. And really, my concerns over the years have been the water bill that comes out in November, you gotta pay it at Christmas. And you also have problems with the one in May, because you gotta pay it in June, and that's graduation. And the wastewater bill is 187.5% of the water bill, so you really get stuck. And we're just trying to make it easier. I personally was looking for quarterly payments, but when we got down to that, it ended up costing us a person. We'd have to hire somebody else, so we sort of scrapped that out and said partial payment. So it'll be up to the board to create the code changes to get to the partial payment situation. Probably not for November billing. Probably, if the board approves it at our next meeting, we'll move on to the November billing and hopefully have it in place by then. Also discussed with the treasurer were the current water rates and the need for an increase. Oop. I'm telling you, this is where it's going.
The well in the backyard.
Well, anyway, it comes down to it that the budget year is gonna run short. We had to borrow last year $50,000 from the wastewater treatment fund to run us through to the end of the year. Ralph is working on the numbers now, and we should have something at the end of the month or 1st of March of what we're gonna need to do with water rates. But it's gonna happen. We also discussed, and it's been thrown around here too, is looking at establishing a rate for multifamily and commercial units. That's a possibility. I don't like it, but that's a possibility. The other thing is, just to go a little bit further, at the last meeting I mentioned the infrastructure as far as water lines go, and I think if you look at several areas in the village, we have multi-million-dollar possible expenses to replace water lines in certain areas that are substandard, and in the ground, the galvanized pipe that probably was 2 inches or whatever, now it's down to about a ½ inch of water running through it. And we live in some of those areas, surely. Those are things that are gonna have to be done at some point in time. The recommendation probably, and I spoke with the engineer, is to phase it in over the years. But hopefully, we don't have any major situation where a line is totally shut and has to be replaced in major pieces. I received the operation budget for the water plant, and that's running about, it's about $30,000 ahead of last year. We will be working on that when we get into budget on the 13th. We'll be somewhere in that. We'll be starting next week on budget. But there is, when I say financial, there is financial concern. Sitting in back, we talk about the grinder and all this for the wastewater treatment plant. That's not cheap. It's $300,000. Where do I get it from? The user. Hopefully FEMA's coming through with some money for it, but we get it from the user. And I said before about the water tanks, we got the same situation. We've got major dollars, major concerns that have to be addressed. And anybody, you got your own budget, you know what the situation is. It's not easy, it's tight, very tight. So, when somebody points a finger and says, well, he's not for that, I'm not for it. It's just the idea, I want to be able to afford it and afford the other stuff that you turn your faucet on, you don't get any water. Well, the phone's going to ring in this building off the wall. So, you know, you gotta face the reality of things. This is what it's costing. And we get criticized from the audience at certain times, and respectfully, I respect their comments, is that you're bonding this and you're bonding that. Well, as one gentleman said, and he's not here tonight, I can borrow at 1% today, but 2 or 3 years from now, I might be borrowing at 5%. So it's cheaper to do it now. And we get criticized for it, so that's the only way to do it. So there I am, just telling you that, hey, we do have some major financial issues, and you have to understand that that's where I come from. I can't hide it. I'm concerned about the financial health of the village. We have been criticized by the state auditors for bonding this and bonding that. And hey, there's the only way to do it. I mean, infrastructure, the state of New York is in worse shape than we are with infrastructure. We have, maybe they're in the same shape if you put it all together, but we have problems. And I just want you to understand that we do have some major financial concerns. And when I say earlier when we talked about the center, it's town-wide. Everybody pays, not just the village taxpayer, because the village taxpayer is going to pay for the wastewater definitely 100%. Sewer gets with a little part of the water district out of town. But anyway, that's where we're at, and I appreciate you listening, and hopefully if you have any suggestions, I really would appreciate it.
Mr. Brown?
I would just like to say, pertaining to the building, I've sat here and I've heard comments. We can always find negative things to say why we can't do this and why we can't do that. But I think we should look at the positive, the things that we can do. And I think this building is a great opportunity, not only for the seniors, but I think it's going to benefit eventually the whole community. So we should not just look at the negative. We should always say, once this was presented, we should grab at it, just like that. And not think of the negative, because we're going to always have, just like your household, you're going to always have bills. You will never get rid of bills. And there will always be something that might stop you from doing something good. So we have to learn to work around these kind of things. And one more thing that I would really love to say, I think some people just come to meetings just to see if they can catch the mayor alive. I really do believe that.
Not happening.
And I'm getting,
gave you that opinion.
and I'm getting where I come to meetings just to hear what some people want to say.
It's freedom of speech, Mr. Brown.
I don't provoke the freedom of speech. I know that.
Okay, please.
And why did you say that?
Well,
All right, Hal, he's out of line. It's just your time, not his time. He had his time.
But picking back on what Mr. Merv said, this is a great opportunity. And no, we're not perfect. And we don't claim to be. But give us a little credit for what we tried to do. The best that we can do it, the best way that we can do it. And another thing I would like to say about the ladies in the office, those ladies do tremendous, tremendous work down there. And just don't think Gina's sitting down there in the office doing nothing. Because she's not. And give her a little credit too for being able to look into these laws. She just don't put this stuff on paper.
Can we get other people besides me? Oh, the cameras? The cameras that one.
Gosh.
Unbelievable.
I'm sorry.
No, you're not sorry. It's sad. It's sad.
Give her a little credit for what she does. She looks at the laws before she put it on paper, before she put it out there. And I would be willing to bet my life whatever Gina says is true. I will be. I will be. That's the confidence I have in her. And the ladies down there that work with her. And again, I state, some people come to meetings to hear what they want to hear. Not what they should be hearing, what they want to hear. And they come back the next meeting to try to catch the mayor in a lie. That's the way I'm looking at this. And ever since I've been sitting on this board, that's the way it's been. I'm not saying everybody out there does it, but some people do it. So, I mean, so just give us a little bit of credit for what we do. And me, myself, I don't lie to anyone. If someone asks me a question, I can't give them my answer, then I'll make sure that I get it and get it back to them with it. And I know a lot of people might think there's a bunch of crooks up here. But I'm going to end this with this. We do the best we can, so give us credit for that. And thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
I'm not going to do any more.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Pat?
There's My Town Marketplace is having a voter registration drive. We're hoping to get some more people registered. They're offering a $25 certificate. If you get registered there, you drop your ticket in the bucket. So if you aren't registered, please get out and get registered. They've also teamed up with the Children's Angel Network. They're collecting items for the Sacred Heart and Holy Trinity youth groups for their midnight run to the city. They're collecting men's new and used clothes and new socks. So if you have any of these items and you haven't dropped them off at Sacred Heart, feel free. They're going to be collecting them at the marketplace as well.
What day is the midnight run?
The midnight run is February 15th.
Okay, I have stuff in the car actually.
The marketplace is also collecting Best Yet labels. Best Yet is one of the groups that you'll see it throughout the store, whether it's toilet paper or water or whatever, just like the soup cans. And Best Yet, if you collect the little labels, which they'll be collecting at the store, they can turn those labels into cash for local nonprofits. So if when you buy items at the store and you're looking and you don't care, one brand or another, you may want to get Best Yet, throw the labels in so that more people in the community could benefit. I would like to thank Mike of the Wallkill Valley Bank. I talked to him the other day. For those that haven't been in the bank, they have they have the hearts up for, I believe, the American Heart Association, and that's one of 3 that I know since they came in, that they're bringing more charitable events through the bank to the community, and I think that's fantastic. So I just want, I gave him a big thank you. I did meet with Chief Scott this last week. I was approached by one of our citizens to discuss an issue that occurred a few weeks ago. The student realized she was being photographed at a bus stop. I was extremely happy with Chief Scott's attentiveness and immediate action to say he will look into it. Very, very happy. Already had solutions ready to go, and I just want to say the meeting went great. At that meeting, funny that brought it up, we talked about the parking stickers as well. I think that's something we need to bring to the table as soon as possible. I really believe that's going to help be beneficial to the community. And that's it.
Jim?
A couple things. Just to clarify what you were saying, Pat, and this is in no way a plug. You're talking about 2 different things. The hearts that are down at the branch is a National Women's Heart for month of February. That's stuff that our bank is doing down here. It's done at the other branches. Right. But this year, because it's the 100th year anniversary of the bank, it was founded in 1913. It's the year of giving. So there's letters that was mailed out to customers and anybody that comes in the bank. For non-for-profits, they're giving up to $5,000 of a donation, and you can bring the letters down to the the branch. I'd send them up to the CEO. You don't have to open an account or anything. It's not subject to, you know, any type of using the facility or using the bank products or anything like that. And I've spoken to a bunch of people in town already, some of the local churches, to submit letters. So those are really 2 different things.
No, I was only talking about the hearts.
Okay.
But speaking of that...
But that's from the American Cancer Society.
That's okay, it wasn't the Heart Association, it was the Mass... Thank you, Cancer.
And just,
To clarify.
I'm just gonna finish up with my.
Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize.
That's okay. I've been working with Chief Scott in regards to adding two more additional cameras in strategic locations in the village. We have 3 up now that were purchased with grants. It was part of the grant money from the community development that we did to restore the park on Center Street. There's still some funds left over. We have to be in a certain area where we use the cameras. So there's 2 more locations that I'm working with Chief Scott. We've submitted the bill to put them all up. They are invaluable. They are tremendous. It watches areas of the community that we don't always have a cop on. We have 2 cops on per shift to cover. So if one's on one end of town and one's on the other end of town, it's hard who's watching in the middle. So these are a huge, huge tool, and the dispatching downstairs that monitors on a big screen all these different areas is also invaluable. It's very, very important because we're not paying for another officer. Not that I wouldn't want to pay for another officer, but we all have to watch every dollar we spend. So we have a dispatcher who's making less, watching certain areas of the community. So if something comes up, we can radio in another police officer from another spot. We can call the town to help, etc., etc. So again, we're going to probably be putting up 2 more cameras with grant money, and they are a really, really great tool for law enforcement. Thank you.
Just some additional information. The Greater Hudson Valley Family Health Center that's moving into Dr. Medina's office, when you ride by there, it's really looking very nice. And they're going to offer a host of services. But until that opens, every Wednesday at the marketplace is the van. So if you feel like stopping by and having your blood pressure taken, or just talk to somebody about an issue or something, you don't need an appointment. You see the van in the parking lot, you just go in and they'll take care of you. They're there from 10 to 4 p.m. I want to, with the grant that the bank is putting out there because of their 100th year in business, and it's the year of giving, I wrote a letter for the Historical Society for a small grant, but we should think about the Garden Club, and we should think about the senior citizens. Now, they probably can't fund everything, but let's put our request in and see, maybe if we say 2,000, you get 1,000. I don't know how it works, so, but the Garden Club should do it, and we should do it ourselves. I want to congratulate the James I. O'Neill JV cheerleaders who came in 3rd place. How many schools, Mary Jane, were involved?
There were 8 in their division.
8. And so we congratulate them. 3rd place is good. And with the audience that I have here tonight, which is a little unusual, please come back. Most of them don't last this long. I want to just take this opportunity because I do it sometimes in other places, but I look at Mrs. Rydell, although there's other folks in here, Mrs. Van Zetta and Dot, the Garden Club. How many are Garden Club ladies? Marilyn? So you got 4? Somebody's hands over there. I don't know. Who is that?
I don't yell all the time.
Okay.
I do flowers
So I
too.
want to thank the Garden Club. You take care of this community the whole year, not just spring and summer. You do the fall, you do the winter. You really make us look pretty. And there's a host of compliments with the gardens. We've talked about additional gardens that maybe we can do smaller ones up at the north end, and that's on my plate. So I want to thank the Garden Club. I see Mr. Stropel in the back. He gets praise from me all the time. He and his ambulance corps. Everyone in here knows, I see the heads going here. What the ambulance corps does for us, we can go home and go to bed and go to sleep and feel safe. Believe me. I see the fire department here, the same thing. Chief Rush is here. What the fire department does is only because I'm a member, I know, Mr. McCormick is a member, the average person probably doesn't know the training that's involved, all that the men and women go through to protect us. The siren goes off, we're home, and the siren goes off, and you can be rest assured that these men and women are going to go take care of why that whistle's going off. And the last group I want to say thank you to. The senior citizens. You don't have to belong to the Highlanders. I know when I look out that I see that a lot of you do, you all don't. I'm here, this young man is here, other people are here because of what you did. Not because of what I did, because of what you did. You built this community. You, Mrs. Rydell, built this community. Dot, you built this community. All your years of service in the post office. Every single one of you have a story that built this community. It's not us, it's you. And I think of that every single day. You guys are the best. You guys are the best. I don't know anywhere else, never lived anywhere else, don't want to live anywhere else, never will live anywhere else. I will die on the street that I was born on. I hope. That's my dream. You guys are the best. Thank you, 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 thank you. Thank you back there. You too. Thank you. You guys are good. You're good friends. And I thank you for all that you do for this community. I'll take a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. McCormick, second by Mr. Brown. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Please be careful of the steps. Please be careful of the steps.
I was trying to sit quietly. Did I sit quietly enough?
Nah, you did great. Thank you very much.
I write hard, I noticed.
Yes, you do. But you know what? It was going. It wasn't like someone banged it. It was fine. It was a very subtle waving.
I'll get here early next time.
Nod. It worked fine. Thank you.